So what you guys want to talk about?
Is it an off week or is it a bye week?
Yeah. It's not an off week, Tony.
Will you guys continue to shuffle the offensive line a bit, or are you guys just kind of trying to keep?
We will. We will. I thought we played okay up front. Nothing special, honestly. We'll continue to move those guys around. Colton had a rough day. Played like a redshirt freshman. Marcel didn't show the progress I feel like he needs to show. Inside we were just okay. I give Youngstown some credit. Those ends were pretty good. I mean, those guys were really good. Played hard. Don't be surprised if those two ends get drafted fairly high. But yeah, to answer your question, Pankey's going to continue to play tackle and guard, move him around a little bit, move Colton around. Expect them all to get better.
Daniel, 2 weeks in, what have you learned?
Yeah, nothing. It's still early. It's still early. We will. We're a work in progress. I mean, that's one of the things that I like about this team is they understand that. They know they don't have anything figured out. They're going to continue to work hard. This is a big week for us here. I mean, we'll go out there this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, Thursday, and continue to progress and get a jump start on BYU, obviously. But they need to keep playing. We're playing a lot of bodies. Played 55 guys last week. Wish we would have played a little more, honestly, but you just continue to play, continue to get better. I think the one thing I've learned is these guys understand that, and they like to play and like to get out there and like to play the game.
You noted after the game that tackling was not crisp.
It's poor.
Do you have to do more scrimmaging this week than maybe you thought?
No, you got to be careful with that. I mean, we didn't forget how to tackle in a week. We were bragging about the tackling effort 2 weeks ago. I think that has a lot to do with motivation. It has a lot to do with frame of mind. It's not technique. We didn't forget how to tackle. We didn't forget how to block. I was sitting here bragging after Missouri that we blocked better than them and we tackled better than them. I could argue that Youngstown blocked and tackled better than we did. I think that's a frame of mind more than anything. We had a lot of loafs too, on both sides of the ball. Why? I don't know. I don't think you can get up and play your absolute best every single week. But at the end of the day, we did good enough to win.
How much is this week about development and BYU? Where do you find the balance at?
It's probably about half and half. We won't do a ton of scrimmaging, honestly. We're going to introduce BYU. They do some challenging things. They're a good team. They got to play. They're a new staff. So we've only got 2 games on them right now. Having a third game will be beneficial to us this week. So we'll introduce them and get ahead a little bit, but we're always going to continue to develop, so a lot of those guys are going to continue to play.
I feel like Russell Shell has been a good influence on Crawford and the core at this point. Obviously, what he's done on the field.
He has. Yeah, he has. Was that a question or was that a comment? He's been good. I've been happy with him. I thought he played his best game since he's been here on Saturday. Game 1 we were pretty happy with. We were happy with Crawford, obviously, and this past game we were happy with McCoy. He's the old man of the group. He's experienced, but he's playing good. I've been very happy with him.
Dan, you have a quarterback that a lot of people passed over, to get to this point, who obviously must have had some shortcomings that you were willing to either think you could improve or overlook, including his height and whatever. What do you look for in a quarterback? How do you evaluate quarterbacks?
Well, just guys that make plays. more than anything. You know, I mean, I'm proud of Skyler. He's doing good. I rarely give the player of the game to the quarterback. I mean, those guys always get pats on the back. If they play good, you guys are going to write about them. If plays bad, you guys are going to write about them. You know, the crowd is obviously either going to cheer him or boo him, one of the two. That's just part of that position. But, you know, last week he battled through a lot, didn't practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, got in there a little bit on Friday and practiced and came out and played the best game he's had since he's been here. So, you know, that's just the type of kid he is. When people tell him that he can't do it, he typically does it. I need to probably remember that and tell him he's terrible every Saturday morning, you know. I don't know. I mean, I've had all shapes and all sizes, and he continues to impress me just based on the fact that everybody tells him he can't do it and gets out there and he does it. So, you know, I'm happy with his performance right now. I don't the recruiting aspect of it. I mean, we could spend the rest of the press conference, you know, talking about recruiting. I mean, that's kind of a crapshoot a little bit. You never know what you're going to get until you get them. So, but he's I mean, the story's been written a lot. I mean, he's passed over by everybody, and continues to use that as a motivational factor.
Coach, your early impressions of BYU so far, what is it they do that's challenging you guys?
Yeah, they're all over the place on defense. I mean, you know, we're talking about a bunch of grown men. I mean, they're old. You know, I mean, they're obviously, you know, a little from a age standpoint, they're older, but their depth is good. They play a lot of bodies. You know, I've studied way more on defense than I have on offense, but you know, they're a good team. I mean, they play a challenging schedule. They're not scared to play anybody anywhere. Still getting a feel for it. You know, I think we got a few days to be able to do that, but they've always won. I mean, they got a winning program and got guys that believe in what they're doing.
They'd say to you that they would go for two there with 19 seconds left.
I knew they were going to do it the minute it happened. The minute it happened, I said they're going to go for two and they're going to try to win it. That's like the backyard brawl is for us. I mean, that's right up the road, and they're like 20 miles apart, and you know, they got unbelievable history, and all those kids know each other. I mean, there wasn't a doubt that they were going for two.
Will has worked with the scout. Will Greer has worked with scout team. How much have you got to work hands on? Try to teach him the offense a little bit.
Well,
what do you think, Ian?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're gonna redshirt Cody too, so he'll do some scout team stuff. I just, you know, Gibby, I mean, he loves Will now. He says, I want him with me the whole time. I was like, well, you're not going to get him the whole time. He's got to keep progressing with us. So we put him in all the meetings and all the individual stuff. I mean, he's there. I mean, we can't afford to give him, you know, practice reps right now, live team reps or any of that. But he's going to be with us as much as we possibly can. He's doing a great job.
You see different guys handle that year. They have to sit out different ways. Some guys really get into it, and others maybe they mope around a little bit and aren't too happy.
Was that a question?
He
That's true. It's very true. It's very true. And you know, to me, being a starting quarterback comes natural to guys. You know, some guys got to work on it a little bit more than others. It really comes natural to Will. You know, so he gets in the huddle, and he's great on the sidelines and really does a good job. So happy he's here, happy with his progression at this point, and you know, hopefully he can rub off on some of these other guys as well, which I think he is.
When it comes to the recruiting schedule this week, what kind of your plan there?
I'm going to go to Mississippi on Thursday. Go try to find another Justin Crawford. You know, go watch a couple of games. Me and Wickline. Wick is he's a former junior college coach in Mississippi, so he's going down there with me, and we'll be hitting several of those games and schools. So
And is the NFL a good or bad influence on college football kids watching them play?
from a scheme standpoint, from a technique standpoint, from a perception,
I'm not sure. Maybe even attitude standpoint. I mean, it's not the same game. I mean,
yeah, it kind of is. I mean, it's still the same. They still play with 11 on each side. You know, so there's a lot of things that I look at. You know, from a scheme standpoint, I mean, there's a lot of things that we get from them. There's a lot of things that they get from us. I see a lot of similarities in the game. You know, went down and spent time with the Saints, you know, in preseason, went up and spent time with Coach Tomlin up there and watched them practice for a little while, and I see a lot of similarities. So, you know, from the kids' point of view, you know, I can't speak for them, but, you know, there's probably some things that they can take from it from a technique aspect. Mentality, I don't know, it's probably a completely different deal when it comes to the mentality. You'd have to ask them that.
When do you guys actually start feeding BYU to the players? I mean, I know you don't want to spend too much time on that versus technique development, things like that.
Well, there's been times, it's a good question. I mean, there's been times that I wouldn't let our coaches show video, you know, until like Sunday. But I've changed my thought process on that. I mean, we'll get started with it today. I think you can overkill an opponent. You got to be careful about that. So we'll introduce it and do some BYU work today. But it won't be just like a full-fledged Tuesday where the whole thing is BYU. So I think there's a good mix there. I don't think there's a lot of harm in introducing it, but I think there's a lot of harm in overkilling it. And you got to be careful about that.
Hey, last week you got to use your backups in practice, a bunch of quarterbacks. I mean, how useful was that timing, given what happened in Missouri, and what did you learn as far as on resiliency, or just maybe how they're not as bad as they were in those 4 plays?
Yeah, it was critical. I mean, they practiced a whole heck of a lot better than they played, which, you know, I think everybody would be excited about that. It'd be almost impossible to play worse. But it was good for them. I think what they learned, and you know, we put Will in towards the end of the game, and I thought he did a lot better. You know, went in there and moved the ball forward, and you know, and all that. Their attention on the sidelines was a lot better, which was what I was looking at more than anything. I mean, I would ask them questions, and I'd turn and I'd look just to make sure that they had their helmet on and it was buckled up and they were paying attention. So, you know, I think they learned. Everybody says you got to be ready because you're only a play away, but until you actually have to go through that, you really don't understand that. So I think they both learned a lot from it. And they got a lot of practice reps last week, and I think they got better. Wish we could have played them a little bit more.
And in light of the Central Michigan Oklahoma State game, what's the worst screw job you've ever taken as a coach?
Can I say last weekend?
You ever have one?
Nah, nothing like that, man. I mean, that's a tough one. Jeez. I can't imagine what those guys are going through right now. That's a tough one. We've never had an ending like that. I've never won on a Hail Mary, you know, or a bad call. Never lost one either. So let's keep it that way. Do you think they should reverse it?
Yeah. Amazing that you've got officials on the field, 2 replay officials, and someone in Dallas watching every play, and you can't get that.
What are they there for? I mean, the one thing that's aggravating as a coach is, I mean, the instant replay thing. I mean, obviously, if it works out for you, you're happy. But, I mean, there's been times where instant replay doesn't get it right. So what's the point? If you're not going to reverse it, I mean, I don't know. I think they probably should.
Did you practice that play when you were there? Did you practice that play when you were there?
No. No.
case, you can make a case that that play never happened.
You
The
could.
Game was supposed to be over. In a courtroom, they would
Right.
like throw out.
You're right. In real life, they would.
Yeah.
It was a heck of a play by Central Michigan, though. Now, I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, you talk about a Hail Mary. That's one thing, but Hail Mary lateral. I mean, holy moly, that was pretty good. Now, so give them a lot of credit for that, but it's a tough one.
Do you spend a lot of time on in-game? I mean, a Hail Mary on the last second play like Oklahoma State had. Do you spend time on that? Or
Yeah, we every week.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if we need that play, then we're going to line up, and our guys know where to line up, how to line up, and what to do. I would assume that everybody does, and we do defensively too. It seems like, and I don't know why, but it seems like they're becoming more successful than they have been in the past. I don't know if that's just happenstance or guys are actually working on it. You can't work on it to the point where it's a skill. I mean, there's a certain amount of luck involved with that.
You were down with Wickline in Mississippi to get Crawford, if I remember correctly. Was he really in his element back down there, Wick?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, eating catfish and turnip greens and cornbread. I'll be eating some of that Thursday afternoon. My nephew's at Northwest Mississippi, so I'm going to go watch him play on Thursday night. He's going to a different game. I think we're already scheduled, unless it changed 3 weeks from now. We're going to go back, go watch Clint play, coach. So there's good players down there.
Designated where the assistants are going yet?
Yeah, I can't tell you where. I don't, but yeah, it's usually done a month in advance. So unless something changes, I mean, it's all been scheduled out.
Does this class have a big junior college need or a little junior college need?
No, I mean, it's like it always is. I think our take on it's pretty much the same as it's been the last 3-4 years. If you can get guys to come in and fill needs, then you need to get them. And that's obviously one way to do it. I think the ones that we got a year ago, I think we're paying off pretty good. We've had success with them in the past, and we'll continue to do that.
You mentioned the BYU defense, without jumping too much into it. What kind of challenges do they present with their offense?
They're a lot like with the offense. Yeah, defensively, they're a lot like we are. They play 3 down with a bunch of guys everywhere. You have to ask Gibby at this point. I haven't watched it enough to be able to comment on it.
When you guys see these lows on both sides of the ball, is there an automatic punishment phase the next week at practice for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, put somebody else in. Just replace them. We're not going to, we're not going to run sprints or anything. We're not going to do grass drills. We're going to go out and we're going to practice. But they're noted. We watch it. We make everybody see it, and if they don't change it, then they're probably going to get replaced. And there wasn't just a ton across the board. I mean, if you look at our depth chart a week from now, we'll release it. There won't be a lot of changes on it. But if something's glaring, you'll see a change.
So, in Youngstown State, more effort or more technique? Problems?
More effort. More effort. There's always technique stuff. I think it really caught up to us in special teams. I was really happy with special teams 2 weeks ago. Pleasantly surprised. And then this past week, that's kind of, it was just okay. If you're not playing with great effort on coverage teams, they're going to return the ball on you, which happened. So, it's blocking and tackling in space on special teams is apparent. We had those problems on offense with blocking. We had those problems with tackling on defense, and in special teams, it kind of comes to light. So, wasn't as happy with that aspect of it.
Were you happy with the way your team handled the challenge, particularly in the second, third quarter?
Very much so. I don't want to come off as we lost. I don't want to come off as that because I was really happy with the way and nothing that happened. I sat up here and told y'all after the game that I was not surprised with what just happened. Youngstown's incredibly well coached. I mean, Bo Pelini has proven it for how many years at the highest level. They got a lot of guys that have played at this level. They're well coached. They're going to win a lot of games. Their motivational factor just was a little higher than ours. 14-14 at halftime. I said, this is not surprising. Don't panic. Let's go in. Let's coach them up, and let's go out and let's play better in the second half. And the third quarter was arguably our best quarter of the year so far. So, yeah, I was really happy with what they did.